Welcome to IA Academy. In today's lesson, we'll be talking about some tips and tricks dealing with niche rules in the skirmish and with specific figures that you might not have known about, and will help improve your skirmish game. The first three will be about general game rule tips to remember, and the last 7 will be neat tricks that have to do with specific figures in the game that you may not have known about. Number 1. Remember to always draw your command cards before resolving any end-of-round effects. This is important because there are command cards that have end-of-round effects that you might want to use that round. And cards like On the Lam and Stealth Tactics might be important while a figure like Vader or Han are performing their end-of-round attacks, and you want to make sure you've drawn those cards when you had a chance before they go off. Number 2, it's important to remember that while being stunned prevents a figure from voluntarily exiting its space or attacking, it doesn't prevent a figure from performing actions in general. For example, Vader can still use Force Choke while he's stunned because it's not an attack, and Jabba can still use all of his abilities while he is stunned. Also, a figure can still perform move actions and gain movement points while stunned. It just can't spend them until it removes the stunned condition. This is important for cards like Beast Tamer and Shila, who can still gain movement points at the start of their activations, but have to remove their stun before they can spend them. Number 3. The only time an attack is required to deal damage to trigger a surge ability is when that surge ability includes the name of a beneficial or harmful condition as a verb, or would trigger Cleave or Blast. All other surge abilities can be used regardless of whether or not the attack misses or deals damage, unless the text says otherwise. For example, you could attack someone 20 spaces away and still be able to use a surge to recover damage. This also applies to special surge abilities like the Jawa's Bargain. And when a surge ability contains a condition name as an adjective, such as focused instead of focus or hidden instead of hide, that ability does not need to hit or deal damage to apply its effects. Almost all of these types of abilities will be found in a deployment's text box instead of on its combat bar. Alright, let's talk about some specific figures. Tip number 4, Grito. Grito's slow on the draw ability is used in the same timing window as cards like Tools for the Job and Primary Target, and since all of these effects are controlled by Grito's controller, that player gets to decide what order they happen in. If Grito is going to get attacked from slow on the draw, always wait until after that attack resolves to play your other command cards. The reason for this is because if Grito is defeated by slow on the draw attack, any cards that were already played on his initial attack will not be applied to the subsequent parting shot, although he will still be focused if he was when he first attacked. By waiting to play your command cards, you can either play them on Grito's main attack action, or you can play them during the parting shot if needed, and you get to wait and see which one will be necessary. Number 5. Similar to Grito, Hondo's Negotiate ability happens during the Declare Attacker step, and just like Grito, you should wait until Negotiate resolves, and your opponent has chosen to take the damage or pay you some victory points. This will give you a significant information advantage over your opponent. For example, if your opponent thinks they will be able to survive Hondo's attack by giving you victory points instead of damage, you can then surprise them with Element of Surprise or Tools for the Job, and Hondo gets to have both his victory points and his kill. If your opponent gives you the damage, then maybe you can save those cards for later if you're confident that you're going to finish off that figure with the +2 damage bonus. Number 6, 000 can use Invasive Procedure to focus himself, even if there's no other figures adjacent to him. Just be careful, because if you have a friendly figure adjacent to 000 when he uses it, 000 will not be able to help himself, and that figure will suffer the damage and become bleeding. Number 7, the counterpart to 000, BT-1. If you want to get more out of BT-1's Missile Salvo attack in a Scum droid list, try equipping him with Prey on the Weak. This will give each of your missile attacks Pierce and improved accuracy, and BT will usually have a higher figure cost than any generic figure, as well as many unique figures. Number 8, Kanan Jarrus. When using Kanan Jarrus, it can be very easy to forget to use his Force Vision ability, which can sometimes give you critical tactical information, or at the very least, force your opponent to commit to a decision when they weren't ready. To help you remember, take a spare token that you're not using for anything else in the game, like the Rebel Deployment token for a campaign, or even a simple coin, and put it on his deployment card to remind you to use his Force Vision ability when you go to tap his deployment card before activating him. When your opponent declares which group they're going to activate next, place your reminder token on that group's card so both you and your opponent don't forget that it's supposed to activate next. Just remember to grab your token back from them after that group activates. Number 9, Shila Barad. You can get multiple attacks using Shila Barad's Mandalorian Whip and Parting Blow command card if you include Punishing Strike in your list. Normally, Parting Blow doesn't work with Shila because after she performs the bonus attack from the command card, she would become stunned before performing the attack with her whip. But you can exhaust Punishing Strike when Shila would become stunned and replace it with either a Bleed or Weaken, since Punishing Strike doesn't specify enemy figures only. Because Parting Blow is applying the condition and is being used by Shila, the figure, it meets the condition for a figure applying a harmful condition. In this case, Shila is using Parting Blow to apply a harmful condition to herself, which leaves her free to complete her other attack from Mandalorian Whip after resolving the free attack from Parting Blow. And with number 10, our final tip is going to be about how to more effectively play against a specific figure. Han Solo's return fire can be very powerful and make it intimidating to attack him. In our first episode of IA Academy, we talked about using terrain features and other figures to attack Han while blocking his return shot. However, there are some tricks you can do with command cards to nullify Han's return fire as well, and similarly against figures with parting shot like Gritos. Hit and Run, because it is a special action which includes gaining movement points, just like Urgency, must have those movement points spent as part of resolving the card, which must be fully resolved before any other abilities, like Return Fire, can start to resolve. This means that if a figure using Hit and Run attacks Han, they get to spend those 3 movement points to move into cover before Han can shoot back. In a similar tactic, a mercenary player could play opportunistic on a nearby figure after Han takes damage from the attack and move that figure to block Han's line of sight to his attacker. Because damage is dealt before an attack resolves, the movement points will be gained before return fire would trigger. Just remember that, like on the Lamb, if you play opportunistic on a figure that is currently activating, they won't be able to spend the movement points immediately and will have to let return fire resolve before they can move. Well, class, that's it for today's lesson. In our next lesson, we will be talking about some more command cards and tips for how to use certain command cards more effectively. That'll be all. Class dismissed.